One whisper inside the castle was all it took to shake the monarchy. When Camilla's private words cut King Charles to the core, Prince William made a move that stripped her power and left her facing exile. This is the story the palace never wanted you to hear. William takes power from Camilla. Words she believed were in private sliced King Charles deeper than anyone could have imagined. This storm, however, did not begin with a headline. It started within the castle's shadows. The evening was gentle, candles shining, velvet drapes sweeping over the icy stone floors, wine glasses reflecting the warm glow of fire. A meal at Balmoral, intended to be a mere well-mannered evening in the royal schedule, turned into something much more sinister. For in the world of royalty, sometimes a whisper can ring out louder than a scream. And on that evening, Camilla forgot. She had always had that kind of presence, wearing a gown the hue of old emeralds, her tiara glinting as if it still had something to prove. She came in with a purpose. Every look, every stride, every grin. It was the stance of a queen claiming her territory. There by the window stood Charles, wine in hand, gazing out into the gardens as a man who is looking for something he lost many years earlier. Camilla came up to him, not to soothe him but to claim him. "I believe we should include my charities in the autumn royal schedule," she said, her voice honey. Sweet but acute below the surface, "it will demonstrate that we're keeping pace with them. I've already made all the arrangements." Charles didn't turn initially. When he did, the smile on his face was all show. He shook his head slowly but firmly. "Let's look at what William and Catherine have created. That is where the public is focused now." The words were serene, nearly offhand. But they destroyed her. It wasn't a dismissal. It was a brush off, and worse. Everyone else had heard it. Her concept wasn't just rejected. It was dismissed like yesterday's dust, overwhelmed by the shine of the young royals. She tittered politely, covering the pain, but in her heart she seethed. Hours later, after the wine and polite laughter faded into silence, Camilla's mask broke. She hurled her clutch onto a table, the echo slicing through the quiet halls like a scream. Charles turned slowly, halfway through removing his gloves, when her words tore into him. "You're not a king anymore," she hissed, rage burning in her eyes. "You're William's puppet." Her voice was heavy with years of anger, every word a slap, against his pride, his authority, his crown itself. She called him weak, hollow, a king but not in name, and she never knew someone had been overhearing. Just behind the splintered door was a royal advisor, one who had been around for Diana's reign. He did not speak, he did not shift, but he overheard everything, and he recalled. The following morning, under a gray sky over London, William sat at his desk drinking tea. He did not know the storm was already coming, until Harrow, as white as a sheet and shaking, came in and disclosed all, each insult, each venomous word. William did not shout. He didn't toss his cup, although his knuckles turned white around it. He simply gritted his jaw, his eyes staring straight ahead. His father hadn't merely been insulted, he had been taken apart by the same woman Charles had fought the world to possess. Within that afternoon, an unspoken message was conveyed to Camilla's private staff. William would see her alone at Windsor Castle. She stormed in with chin held high, wearing silver pearls around her neck like armor. She was looking for a warning, perhaps even a reprimand, but what she got instead was judgment. "What did you tell my father?" William demanded. His tone was cold, his gaze unwavering. For the first time Camilla stumbled. She made excuses, called it private, denied, lied, but William didn't flinch. "I have a witness," he declared, advancing. "Don't test me, Camilla. You've crossed a line." And with those words, the balance of power shifted. Not in public, not splashed across headlines, but in a quiet sunlit room at Windsor. In that moment, William's shadow stretched further than hers, and she knew it. The fallout didn't roar, it crept in like frost across glass, stripping Camilla's world piece by piece. The initial chop was quick. Her sister Annabel let go on a whim, a brief email. Restructuring, it explained within hours. Her two most trusted aides were banished to solitary offices in Scotland and Wales, instructed to clear out and head off before dusk. Camilla glared at her phone in shock, message after message illuminating her screen, everyone constricting the band around her heart. And then came the blow that obliterated her. An email bearing the royal seal, cold, clinical. She was being taken off 2 charity functions she had fostered over the years. The functions weren't cancelled, they were being relinquished. To Catherine, who did not have to fight her way into the limelight. Catherine, whose face adorned the covers of magazines with ease. Catherine, who represented the future. Camilla's hands shook as she scanned the words. This wasn't procedure. This was personal. By morning, the palace itself felt chillier. Staff shunned her gaze. Speeches grew quiet as she entered a room. It wasn't dismissal now. It was erasure. Someone was shifting the pieces with finesse, and she knew precisely who it was. William. He was not playing games. He was taking apart her legacy stone by stone. Angry, she had burst into Charles's study. He sat at his desk, peacefully scanning notes on environmental policy, as if the palace itself were not collapsing. My sister's out. My aides are gone. They've taken my events. You can't simply sit there and do nothing. Camilla's voice broke with betrayal. Charles put down the papers slowly, his gaze heavy, his voice low and absolute. You damage this family, Camilla. William is doing what he feels is right. The words stunned her. Her anger melted into something harder, icier. You are permitting him to ruin me? She breathed. I supported you when the world hated us, and this is what I receive. But Charles did not reply. He merely turned his back. Camilla didn't weep. She departed with her back straight, her teeth locked. But within, a tempest was building. If Charles wouldn't protect her, then she would protect herself. And so she acted in secret, calling upon the old guard, the conservative advisers who had assisted her in ascending. In closed doors within exclusive London clubs, she sowed seeds of fear. He is cutting away tradition, she warned. He is pushing the monarchy towards chaos. He is sidelining the queen consort as if she is disposable. And they listened, because William's modern vision had always made them nervous. Camilla knew how to take advantage of that. Whispers were started. Doubts were planted. Soon the whispers reached palace corridors. Was William overstepping? Was he undermining his father's authority? The discomfort rose higher, into the Privy Council, into the hearings of dukes and lords. Pressure was building. The monarchy did not need another family conflict, and so Charles acted. He brought William to Balmoral. No aides, no secretaries, only father and son, in a library redolent with history, flanked by portraits of monarchs who had borne the crown before them. Charles sat behind the massive oak desk, fingers steepled, his voice measured. You are pushing too hard. She is my wife still. William stood firm, unflinching. She said you were a puppet. I am not here to steal your throne, father. I am here to defend it. The room went heavy with silence, the force of legacy weighing upon them like stone. Charles shifted his gaze, his silence more potent than argument. That evening, alone in the same castle where this tempest had started, the crown had spoken. Camilla's reckoning had started. No press conference, no dramatic statement, simply a stealthy royal fiat signed by Charles and delivered to the comms team. The language was clinical. The queen consort will retreat from public engagements to concentrate on her health and personal pursuits. But behind palace doors, everyone understood. It wasn't a withdrawal. It was exile. At sunrise, a black royal limousine arrived at Clarence House. Camilla, wearing a subdued gray overcoat, slipped into it silently. No staff marched along the corridors, no last goodbyes. The vehicle proceeded north across the countryside, until it came to Ray Mill House, her personal home, her refuge. Her prison, the silence was choking. Her phone, which had rung continuously once, hardly glowed. Her inbox void. Even her closest supporters moved away. Her children called in politely, but with caution, not wanting to be ensnared in the palace's tightening circle. That night Camilla took a stand in the garden, holding on to her old pearl necklace as though it were the final fragment of who she was. The flowers swayed in the breeze, the quiet more deafening than any news title. And then the coup d'etat face, the final blow. Her profile was deleted from the royal website. One silent click, and she was gone. At the same time, within Buckingham Palace, a new order emerged. William, now in full control, set about reshaping the monarchy's image. Ceremonies were rationalized, initiatives updated, and at their heart was Catherine, still, radiant, loved. The press referred to her as the people's princess. Teenagers looked up to her, older royals admired her, and the public listened in more closely than ever. Behind the closed doors, William labored with ruthless efficiency. Camilla's charities were redirected, her calendar erased, her very name never spoken, and Charles, silent. No defense, no outrage, no response to the letters. Camilla wrote from in exile. He had elected duty, and duty required silence. The monarchy doesn't have to scream to kill someone. It simply needs to stop naming you. And the world obeys. But in the chilly corridors of Mill House, Camilla was not quite vanquished. Her authority might have been taken from her, but her pride. Her pride was intact at dawn one morning, when the sun was rising over the barren fields. She stood at her window and breathed a promise. They think they've won, but I am still the queen. Her voice was not quivering. It was firm, insistent, because William and Catherine might be the future, but Camilla wasn't done being remembered. Thanks for watching. Can you like my video? Please like, subscribe, and share.